Myatt. I am a high-earning copywriter and marketing director. I am 14 years old. I believe in taking care of myself in a meticulously curated daily routine. On a regular day, I wake up at exactly 4:45 a.m. to the gentle vibrations of my sunrise simulating alarm clock. Its warm glow matches the precise color temperature of a morning sunrise in Bora Bora, flooding the room with an artificial dawn that hacks my circadian rhythm. In the silence of the early dawn, I first step into my custom-built NASA-engineered anti-gravity treadmill. It replicates the exact gravitational conditions of Saturn, triggering a unique stress response that boosts bone density and cardiovascular health. I rehydrate by drinking glasses of structured water, energized by a meditative hum at a frequency of 432 Hz. I follow this with a cryotherapy session in my own personal cryo chamber, chilled to minus 220 degrees Fahrenheit. This is followed immediately by full body submersion in a Norwegian imported ice bath, illuminated only by the glow of my medical grade red light therapy unit. This is proven to accelerate cellular healing and of course improve my mood. As for my morning diet, I consume a specially curated combination Amazonian superfoods. Acai, what is that? Is that cocoa or is that cow?
Cacao.
What are all these words? Cacao nibs? Acai, cacao nibs, goji berries, and chia seeds, all blended into a smoothie that costs more than most people's cars. The antioxidant level in my bloodstream is off the charts. I use a Japanese charcoal-infused toothbrush, deliberately brushing each tooth 76 times. I carefully select my outfit from a walk-in wardrobe, organized not by type of color, but by the relative alphaness I associate with each garment. Throughout the day, I will take periodic 30-second breaks to sunbathe my perineum. Exposing my butthole to UV light allows me to maximize vitamin D absorption, bolstering gut health, and charging my energy levels. I begin my work by staring at a blank, black screen, willing the words to come alive with my mind. When I do begin writing, I keep my monitor off. I type at 230 words per minute. I never edit. I never has any typos. I only need to write for 7 minutes per day, for which I am paid $6,000, plus equity and royalties. In the reflection of my MacBook Pro, I see a well-tuned, highly efficient machine of a man. I experience no fear, joy, or passion. My copywriting routine optimizes me purely for intense, money-making performance. I am Alex Myatt. I am 14 years old. My lifestyle is the only way to get rich as a copywriter.
Hey, can I help you?
Dear Lindsey, hello. I hope this email finds you well. I recently came across your company, and was really impressed by the work that you do. I see from your hat that you are a brunette. Keep killing it out there. I am writing to see if there might be an opportunity for us to work together. My company, Marketing and Copy Solutions, specializes in copy and marketing, and I believe that we would be a great fit for your company. I would love to learn more about your current needs and how we might be able to help your business grow. Could we schedule a call at your convenience to discuss further? Thank you for considering my request. I am looking forward to working with you and your business. Best regards, a cold emailer.
All right, I got this insane pitch for my next ad campaign for you guys. Are you ready to hear this? Are you ready to greenlight the most insane, amazing promo idea you've ever heard in your entire life? The idea, are you ready for this? Porno veggies. It is farmers injecting fruits, especially zucchinis and tomatoes, with oxytocin, the love drug, the hormone responsible for porno.
All right. Great.
It sounds like
What do
you
we-
guys don't think this
Alex?
is an amazing idea.
Lindsay, do you want to? We had that thing.
Oh,
If you guys
yeah,
don't
that's
like my
right.
idea,
Yep.
then screw
It's-
both of you.
it's
This is going to
time.
be an amazing idea. This is going to be a
Uh,
$10 million idea. Screw.
I'll just kick him. Oh, there we go. He's gone.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars at writers.
Hold on. Is somebody dragging a metal table across tile in your house?
I was hoping you couldn't hear it.
Now, here's a supposedly true story. A doctor had written down on a notepad that a nurse was supposed to administer drops into their ear, their right ear. But the nurse, trusting the doctor knew what they were doing, took these ear drops and then proceeded to drop them into the patient's rear.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm actually sitting down with the Alex. Thank you so much for taking me on as a private client.
I appreciate you being here, man. Really think it's awesome and dope of you. I have like 10 seconds to get to something amazing, and you're not gonna believe the copywriting secret I'm about to reveal to you. This is the craziest rule you're ever gonna hear. Write for your audience, okay? That is the secret. You wanna manifest that and bring it in.
Read out loud. Read your copy out loud because it allows you to avoid situations like this.
When our pizza gets to your door, you and your wife will immediately shout, "Let's eat, kids!" When our pizza gets to your door, you and your wife will immediately shout, "Let's eat, kids!" Oh.
So, Mr. Alex Myatt, it does seem like your samples are the sort of thing that we are looking for. We are looking for an email copywriter. You have definitely shown in your samples that you have the capacity to write an email. We haven't really discussed compensation yet. Do you have a general ballpark or sense of what your normal fees are?
Let's just call it 20K. 20K seems like, I don't mind taking a bit of a cut in this one on my usual rate. So 20K, I'm here. I'm, going to the beach. I got my laptop ready. Let's do it. All right.
20K per year? Okay, that sounds perfectly reasonable.
Whoa. No. Whoa. 20K for the project, right? The first project. And then right? That's the whole, write for your audience. Pay me 20K,
Have you ever worked a job in your life before?
Money, cash money, and
Are you the victim of a copywriting project that bombed and you don't know why? Has this ever happened to you? You write a sales campaign for a client, but it was never disclosed to you how it would be marketed or how traffic would be driven to it. So you reach out and you ask for a meeting with the marketing team. But when you're on the Zoom call, they spend 2 hours talking about stuff unrelated to your campaign. And when they finally do get to your campaign, they talk about tabling it until like next quarter for reasons you don't really fully understand. Something about like opportunity cost or something like that. So you unmute yourself to talk and go, "Hi, why is my campaign being tabled?" And you hear someone on the call go, "Oh, he's on the call." And you go, "What?" And the other person goes, "Sorry, what?" As though they didn't say anything. They're just pretending that you are the one who's being confusing to get out of sounding like a dick. But then the marketing team gets really serious and they start assigning duties related to your campaign, including like hiring someone else to rewrite parts of it, and you try to like chime in and say that you can do the rewrites, you're the copywriter, I'm a copywriter and I'm capable of doing the rewrites, and they say, "You're not part of the team, you're just a freelancer, stay in your lane." Then you don't hear anything back for a while, but you like check in a month later and apparently the campaign has like already gone out. Like all the pages there, all your copies out there, and it's been out all along, and no one bothered to tell you or like have you check the pages. And as you're going through, you notice that like something is very wrong, and like all of the things are formatted wrong, and there's typos everywhere that you definitely weren't responsible for, and all the links are dead, and nothing is working, and you think, how could this be? I told him to have me do a final check, but when you reach out, no one answers your emails anymore? Not a single person at the company? And even though you were supposed to get campaign results, no one is giving you any? So now you're looking at a botched campaign, and I guess you've ruined a relationship with your client, and you don't think you can use this campaign in your portfolio, and you don't know what's going on, and you feel sick to your stomach? Has this ever happened to you?
And
here we see Copywriters Baldus beardus in his natural habitat. What we're about to witness is only seen once every 2 weeks or so. He sits there, waiting, praying for copy to come forth on to his page. Oh, look, it's happening. It's starting. We see the research bubbling up through his mind, into his brain center and through his frontal cortex, coming out the page. You see it filling every fiber of his being as he bubbles away, and it comes into verbs, nouns, and adjectives. He writes, he begins, he starts the damn march to the end, which is copywriting, and here it comes. I think we're about to see it. The copy is coming forth here now. Quick, hide your children. It's coming. It's here.
I have this poop scooper here for $400, which only does one thing and has a bad handle and doesn't work very well. Would you like it?
$400 for a shitty poop scooper? No!
Oh, okay. Well, I have this automatic robot 4000 dog treat man machine, which helps scoop up your dog's poo and is only $52. And it also grooms them and takes them for walks and makes sure your life is good and perfect. Would you like this?
That sounds like everything I want and more.
I've got you. I did copywriting. That is what we call the principle of contrast, because we take one thing that seems bad or good or whatever, and we contrast it to another thing that seems the opposite, therefore making it seem even better than it did in the first place.
Wait, so you're saying that like we can just put two things that look really different next to each other and people notice that and then like it and then buy things?
Yeah.
Cool! Specificity or ultra specificity is incredibly important because the more details we provide about a service or about a product, the more people are going to believe that it's real, and the more they're going to be able to see how it is different from other similar opportunities in the market. If, for example, you're selling pencils and you just say, hey, my pencil lets you write stuff, or my pencil has lead in it, that's not nearly as powerful as saying, hey, we source all of our lead from one very specific mine that only we have access to, and it has this very special kind of lead that gives it the ability to write on steel. That's much more powerful than just like, hey, we have lead. So the first way you can make a whole lot of money as a copywriter is by working really, really hard. Psych! You think you can make a lot of money by working hard? No, no one makes money by working hard. You make real money as a copywriter by getting paid extra to do the job you are already doing. Bonuses basically are bonus money that you get as part of your contract for doing certain things. One common way that bonuses are implemented are like, hey, you do a really good job on this campaign. We really liked working with you. Let's say they want to sell 1,000 widgets, and for every extra 100 widgets you sell, they give you a little bit of extra money. On your own, you don't really need, especially at the beginning, you don't need a ton of mentorship to kind of keep going up, but there is a point at which you'll hit some sort of plateau, either in terms of what you want to be doing, or you'll find that you just have to put in more hours to get paid more money, which isn't always the best feeling, especially if you have like other responsibilities in your life. I think when you hit that point at which you're like, there's no way for me to like reasonably make more money, at that point, it would be useful to reach out to someone who has more experience or just knows your niche better. When you work in an agency, everyone's work is tied together in a way such that if your coworkers are bombing on their projects or you're dropping the ball in your work, that's going to affect everyone else. You lending a hand with your coworkers will allow their project to go more smoothly, which will make your life a lot easier in the long run. Obviously, you should not do that to the extent that your own work suffers. But when you find yourself with some spare time, it's always a good move to go over and check in with your coworkers and see how they're doing. The other benefit to this is that they will remember that. They will, one, like you more. And two, when you find yourself falling behind, they'll be a little bit more forgiving of that and also offer to help in the same way that you've helped them. That reciprocity goes a very, very long way. This is one thing I do to make sure that I am staying like sharp tonally and my writing is consistently emotional. First thing you do is write down a list of 5 emotions. Second, go to google.com and just type in a random word, click the news tab, and click the top news article you get. Next, pick a product that you want to write about. It can be anything. If you are focusing more on e-commerce, it can be e-commerce product. If you're thinking more about financial copywriting, it can be a made-up financial newsletter. Take an emotion from your emotions list, take that news article and whatever's happening in that, and write a piece of copy and use that as your angle to sell your product. Start with things you do know about. My first content writing job, or my first actual freelance copy job, was I went on Upwork, saw a post for content writer talking about a video game I happened to play. And so I contacted them and was like, hey, I know a whole bunch about this thing. And they're like, oh yeah, you sound really knowledgeable. And they hired me. And so I would write blog content that would take me 20 minutes to write, I'd get paid $50, and that was like really great. But over the course of doing that, I learned how to write better content so that when I approached my next job, I was like, hey, here's some writing samples. And even though they had nothing to do with that area, they were still compelling samples because they were written really well. Because since I didn't have to focus on that, on like the actual area knowledge, I could just focus on the writing. And so as you are skilling up, you can give yourself a little bit more space and bandwidth to focus on scaling up by starting in an area that has to do with something you already know. The truth is, you only really need to know a tiny amount of design to be able to make a page look beautiful and to impress someone with your copy. One of the most successful methods I've used to land gigs has been to simply take copy I've written, put it into Canva, do a tiny amount of design to make it look pretty, and then send it to a client. By doing that, basically, you're just showing that you understand how copy and websites and everything is really supposed to look. There's actually a word for this technique, which is called wireframing. Good design does not mean pretty. Good design means functional. And so having an understanding as a copywriter of what functional design looks like makes your work much, much more valuable than someone who just knows how to write copy. When people have heard something before, and then you say it, it's not going to sound new or novel or unique. And so their brain is automatically going to file that away as less important than if you had told them something new and original sounding. Say you are browsing YouTube for fitness tips or how to lose weight fast. If you click onto the next video and you get an ad that says, here are 5 common vegetables that secretly keep you from burning fat, you're going to want to click that ad. And the reason is because clicking that ad is going to fulfill and satiate that sense of curiosity that you've had.
There's something called a lead magnet. Now, a lead magnet is an idea that I will give you away a free resource in exchange for some of your information. Now, even though you're giving me information in exchange for it, it still feels like I've given you something of crazy value for free. That really helps later down the line in the relationship because you already feel like you owe this company. Have a look around on Facebook and other places. You will see that there's plenty of ads that all talk about a free resource, a free guide, a free report, all in exchange for your emails. If you talk about one thing, it's more powerful than if you talk about lots of things. If I show you a book that is called Napoleon's Invasion of Russia, if I show you another book called History of the Napoleonic Wars, then yeah, it's going to mention Napoleon's invasion of Russia, but you're probably going to trust this one more.
If you want me to do something, make it obvious. This is what you need to do next. Click below to get X. Big button that says buy now. That is so powerful. If you're ever writing a piece of copy and think, maybe the CTA should be a bit more obvious, it definitely should be. Make it very obvious and tell them that they need to do it right now. I have had more than a handful of clients, I would say, over the years, say, kind of like Apple does. And I want to go like, Brian, you run a plumbing firm. You're not selling like $1 trillion brand, okay? And I usually get fired after that. So after a few times, I learned to not say that, but to instead slowly massage them into thinking like, actually, no, let's try this instead. If you have a plumbing firm, you cannot rely on suggestion, like very weak suggestion that your plumbing firm might be the right choice for someone by having some kind of like erotically dressed belly dancer flail around and wave a ribbon, right? Like you can't have that. Instead, you have a very attractive offer that says something like 24/7 call outs for all plumbing emergencies. Click to call now. Well, if I have a leaky pipe and it's really annoying and it's flooding my kitchen, then okay, great. Well, I know they're going to pick up. I haven't got to fill out an annoying form. Great. If it's just a picture of, Brian the plumber, and I have to scroll down to the bottom of the page to even understand what to do, and it's like an email, I'm going to be like, oh, well, this isn't right for me right now. And that's the kind of difference we need to think. When you begin, obviously there's a hell of a lot coming at you. So you can get overwhelmed, but I think you're focusing on the basics. And your like acceleration for learning it's so fast. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know any of this. And now it feels like all these secrets have been revealed. When you get to a stage where you're kind of used to all that, you get to a point, I think, where those things, because you've heard of all of them now, you start to overthink on like, oh, am I doing this right? You will get to a point where you are suddenly editing every single thing you write as you write it. Because you're like, oh God, should I change the sentence structure? Or maybe I should use a different word. Oh, I'm not sure. Does this sound right? Is this what I was going for? Overthinking, I think, is the enemy of intermediate copywriters. So tips for someone who is following my path or doing something similar to me: communication with everyone. If you have people above you and you have people under you, you need to make sure that you're communicating the necessary things to them. Never let people out of the loop, because then it's your fault, basically. My second tip: arrange your tasks and arrange your life and arrange your actions by objectives. Always ask yourself, why am I doing this thing? Is this the most effective way I could be doing this thing? Is it the most efficient way I could be doing this thing? Should I even be doing this thing at all? Those questions will only work if you know what you are trying to achieve. One word: confidence. You can approach a business as a copywriter or a marketer, however you want to label yourself, and confidently tell them this is what we should be doing, and they're going to probably pay you a lot of money to do that. One product that I worked with was a dog tracking device. It was attached to a collar of a dog, and it would give you the GPS location. Pretty cool. And for a few years, it had been used as, hey, know where your dog is at all times. If they get lost, you can track them down easily, exactly like Find My Phone apps. How we decided to frame it was slightly different, because something else the technology could do was track the pace of the dog and track its dexterity, i.e. how much it was moving and how quick it was to turn. So instead of going for the normal kind of boring angle of, hey, know where your dog is at all times, we instead went for, it can be used for that, but the email campaigns we sent out were all about track your dog's health. It's a accurate, technologically based way to make sure your dog is doing all the right things they should be doing, isn't starting to slow down, doesn't have any risks of hip dysplasia, and just moving forward with that idea suddenly made the whole product base far more powerful and the customer base far more willing to buy, because all of a sudden we're showing them something that, guess what, they've never seen.
Look for businesses who are already spending money on ads. They clearly are already okay with spending money on getting more sales. Go to them and quite simply say, hey, let me try and make this better for you. You can say, I can earn you more money through sales. Pay me $300, $500, $1,000 to do this. Give me a test campaign. Pay me half of what I earn. That is a fantastic way to approach this.
The point of all sales messages is to get your reader to take an action, whether it's to click a button, whether it's to opt into your email address or purchase a product. The words that you put on a page are all driving your prospective customer to a single desired action. It's kind of like buying a house. If you're just kind of in the market, you're looking around, who knows, it might take 6 months before you make a decision. But if all of a sudden you know that maybe another offer is in on a house that you really, really like, or you enter a contract, all of a sudden there's a deadline attached to that action. You want your readers to feel like they must make that decision to buy, to opt within a limited time window, or else the opportunity will be lost to them forever. This is called the principle of urgency. Some easy ways to add urgency in your copy. You can use a countdown timer. You see that a lot. A common one is deadlines. Give your offer a hard deadline and a short deadline.
If you find in your copy that you're about to start teaching them something, it's not going to work, because people don't have the attention span or the interest to be educated by a stranger on the internet, when in reality, you want your copy to quickly move the reader along the selling process and that selling psychology. And you do that by channeling things that your subjects already believe in and already know to be true in their heart of hearts. And they're kind of already sold on your message and therefore your credibility from the get-go. One of the most useful tools that I learned for content writing specifically is a tool that we call the what and the why. You need to have a super clear, crystal understanding of what it is that you want the reader to walk away from your piece with. That is the what. And then the why is, why do you want them to walk away with this? There usually has to be some sort of compelling story for why now. Like, why now? Otherwise, it's not timely. Like, it's not relevant in their life. It's just like, here's, just pooped out a piece of content that has nothing to do with your life and where you are now and is like maybe tangentially related to you. Like, it's just not meeting the reader where they are right now. I discovered that not a lot of marketers actually had read my copy, and so they didn't understand where it was going. And then on top of it, I also understood that not a lot of copywriters were talking to the marketers. So they, had spent all of this time writing these huge sales letters and then putting it in the hands of people who actually weren't reading it, but were making big decisions about where the copy was going. Within, I would say, 2 or 3 months, I was writing a memo to the company company-wide memo on a daily basis about like basically the biggest things happening in the business that day in terms of marketing, in terms of copy, in terms of editorial. And it forced me to have a lot of like really big, important conversations with people, the heads of the team. And I noticed I started getting invited to a lot of inner circle meetings. My bosses started to respect me more. I started getting paid a lot more. I started getting a lot more responsibility, and I started getting like a lot longer of a leash to make decisions. But it was like within months. If you start paying attention to the right things, you will just naturally notice a huge leap in your value to your clients. Ultimately, you want to make the business owner happy. And one of the best ways that you can do that is by removing one of the biggest thorns in their heel, which is hiring, training. And when you can take that over with a promise of upping the skills of their entire team, you are going to be valued so much more. Think back on the past clients that you've worked with, some of your big successes. Consider reapproaching them, this time not with an offer to write copy for them, but with an offer to train them on something that you have skilled up on meanwhile. And curiosity itself is a super powerful benefit, actually. You want your reader to read your copy like they are reading a novel that they can't put down, slowly stringing them along page by page. You want them to be so intrigued by what you're writing that they have to keep reading to find the solution, to find the answer of the problem that you have posed and elevated in front of them. This is a classic telltale sign of lazy writing: weak verbs. You want to look for the opportunity to strengthen verbs. Here's a good example that we see a lot in financial copy. The stock fell versus the stock plummeted. A lot of times when you use these stronger verbs, there are extra layers of meaning and nuance. One of the common questions that we get from new copywriters is, well, how do I tell if what I'm reading is a good ad or a bad ad? Here's a really easy tip. If you see the same ads again and again and again, it's a sign it's a good ad and that a company is putting a lot of money behind it to continually show it. I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give to females in my situation who have children and who are trying to become copywriters and break into this, you're going to have to be extremely realistic with yourself and your goals, and also forgiving of yourself. Sometimes shit happens and you're going to have to go be mom. You are going to have far more not perfect days than you are going to have perfect days. Be forgiving of yourself, accept that this is just a phase. You're going to move forward. And eventually, when your kids are in school and you have a full workday ahead of you, you can hit the ground running.
You ever get paid a check this big? I'm going to bet $105,000 that you haven't. This check was for work that I had finished a year before. I had already been paid for that work, and I got paid for that work again and again and again. Somebody I saw at a conference once, they basically said they did a huge multi-million-dollar analysis of social media ads, PPC ads, other kinds of ads, and they tried to find and identify the one thing that led to success versus failure for these ads. You know what they identified? They said all the successful ads had a clear CTA at the bottom of the ad. See below to get more details. Click the button to get more details. Go to the next page to learn how to scrub your butt, etc., etc. Having a clear CTA is by far one of the easiest ways you can improve your copy right away. And if your copy doesn't have a CTA, it is probably not going to succeed. Now, a really good example, possibly the best earned media campaign I've ever seen, is actually one produced. It was for a beer company, and an ad agency approached this beer company being like, hey, can we create a spec ad for you based on an idea that we have? And they were like, sure. And the spec ad was all about creating biodegradable, disposable, barley-based beer rings.
And like the whole premise is, you see these images of these turtles that are just strangled with the plastic beer rings. Some of them, the shell grows around the ring, and like it's just so sad, and those images are very striking. And then they proposed this biodegradable beer ring, and it blew up.
The beer ring was invented by the ad agency.
Yeah.
Like the company had not actually built this.
It wasn't real.
And yet it went completely viral. Their business went up as a result, and Budweiser was calling them like, listen,
Yeah.
if you've actually figured this out, we've been trying to crack biodegradable beer rings
Yeah.
for like 30 years. We will pay you. Literally, here's a check. It is blank. Give us your formula.
Yeah.
And they couldn't
Yeah, they didn't
respond
have
to
it.
that because they didn't have it. It was all marketing. You open up an ad that you like or you want to mimic or learn from or study. Read it 4 or 5 times. Really pay attention to the structure. Really pay attention to the words. Really be sensitive to how it's functioning as a piece of copy. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to create an outline just to sort of remind and refresh your memory of like what happens at one point. Like, this section, it introduces the credibility. This section, it introduces the mechanism. This section is the offer, yada, yada. Just put enough in an outline, single page outline, to sort of remind you of where you're supposed to be on the map. Based on that outline, you are going to try to rewrite the same ad from memory. I don't mean like rewrite the ad in your own words. No, I mean the actual ad, word for word, from memory, using only the outline as your guidepost. You are going to encounter points along the way in trying to successfully mimic and reproduce that ad where you get stuck, where you're just like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? What is it supposed to say next? Go refer back to the original ad and really think, well, okay, the original writer had to solve this problem to get further ahead, had to transition away from this point to move. So look and see, how did that writer solve that problem? It could be there, or it could be that from memory, you might have veered off course at some point 2-3 pages back. Well, the solution there is either to correct yourself and get back on course, or to delete what you have and then get yourself back on track and go in the direction of the original writer. Along the way, you're going to realize that you can't mimic this perfectly. It's impossible. And that's part of the strength of this particular exercise, because you ultimately will learn how to write words that convey and communicate effectively the same things as a writer in a particular style or in a particular genre. And you're also going to learn how to think through the actual critical processes of writing a piece of copy. And you're going to learn it using something that already exists. I was writing a very long report about tax lien investing. This is some 8-ish years ago, but in order for me to learn tax lien and tax deed investing, it wasn't enough for me to just go to the library and read a bunch of reports and read stuff online. What I did was I actually went to a county courthouse. I went to a tax lien auction. I actually bought one. What I discovered over the course of my copywriting career was that I got the best copy if I got my actual hands dirty. And so I was able to articulate and talk about the benefits of things and also the experience of doing things in a very realistic way because I actually did them. Anytime I wrote about a financial strategy, I tried it with my own money. Anytime I wrote about a product that I was trying to sell, I actually used it. There is no better way to get unique copy than from having unique experiences regarding the things that your copy is actually about. Humans are novelty-seeking machines. In fact, in long-form direct response financial copy, one thing that is often said is that new and unique is often better than better and faster. That is to say, people are more interested and intrigued by the thing that they do not have experience with. And that's why you see so many different products out there. It doesn't really matter what niche, always framing themselves as the new, discovered, untold story, unveiled, newly revealed solution to some problem. The answer for anxiety is action. I used to frame it this way in my mind. And once I started framing it this way in my mind, I never had imposter syndrome again, which is everything that we're talking about is a skill. Any skill can be learned. You don't get upset with yourself when you are really bad at javelin throwing the first time that you do it because you've never done it before. You're not going to get anywhere close to like world record javelin throwing. Do you have imposter syndrome? No, you just pick up the javelin, like, all right, this is a skill. I haven't done it enough, so I'm just going to do it again. I think about driving or like backing out of a driveway as a car. Do you ever feel imposter syndrome when you're driving? Think of it this way. It's a skill. It's a skill you have to learn over time through repetition. And also everybody else around you has their lives on the line depending upon your ability to execute that skill. Why don't you feel imposter syndrome? You're not in your head. You're focused on actually cultivating and executing the skill. I think copywriters and marketers get in their head a little bit because, very simply, they have the time to. Like, they're not actually thinking about what they're doing. They're just like fretting, like, oh, what if somebody like finds out that I'm relatively new at this thing? You want to read a piece of copy per day. That could be an email ad, that can be a space ad, that can be a banner ad, that can be a landing page, that can be a sales letter. It doesn't really matter so long as you are carefully reading and analyzing a piece of copy every single day. And on top of that, I also want you writing a page of copy every single day. Now, dispel the feeling that any of that has to be any good whatsoever, because it won't be. The whole point of that is to simply get into the habit of writing consistently. And if you can write a page a day, which is about 200 to 300 words every single day, you're going to find that you're going to start using the things that you learn from the copy that you read. In most circumstances, what you want to have in your copy is a clear, singular kernel of an idea. And every now and again, certain other ideas will present themselves in a way that can be satellites to that kernel and support and complement that singular idea. When it comes to strengthening your verbs, there's one really easy way that anybody can just go back and edit their stuff and improve it pretty much instantly, and that's to search for the verb to be, as in to be or not to be, and any iteration of to be that you can possibly find in your writing. Was, am, isn't, is, are, were, etc. When you hunt out the verb to be, you identify immediately every single sentence that is in your writing potentially pretty weak. As an added bonus, if you hunt out the verb to be and then rewrite the sentences so that it doesn't have that, you will never have a problem with passive voice again. When you are selling a product, you are not simply selling a product. You are selling dreams, you are selling subconscious associations, you are selling aspirations, you are selling fears, you are selling the things that people want in their hearts, because nobody buys anything to get the thing. People buy things because they have some psychological desire that goes beyond the thing, that transcends the thing. And so when you write copy, the most important thing that you can do is try to evoke those emotions in people. Because when you do, you can sell pretty much anything.